Good evening. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and the time is 5 p.m. I will now call to order the meeting of the Victorville City Council, same council sitting as the Victor. Madam Clerk, is that me on background, or I'm hearing it, but it's not coming out?
Not hearing anything.
Okay, thank you. The Victorville Library Board of Trustees, the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the city as a housing asset successor, Joint Powers Finance Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the roll?
Member Godam? Here. Councilmember Irving?
Present.
Councilmember Jones?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
Here.
Mayor Becerra?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
This time, I will now turn it over to Mr. DeBernowski.
Thank you, Mayor Becerra. We have 6 items for closed session this evening. First item is anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1 involving one potential case. D4, sorry. The other 5 items, items B through F, are all existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1, and the case names and individuals involved are all set forth on the agenda. With respect to those 5 items, to the extent there's reportable action, we will report it at the conclusion of the closed session or the commencement of the regular 6 o'clock session.
Thank you, sir. We will now recess to closed session, and open session will resume at 6 p.m. Pray him out. He got old. Good evening and welcome, everybody. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and the time is 6 p.m. I will now call to the regular meeting will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, the successor agency to the redevelopment agency, the city as a housing asset successor, Joint Powers Finance Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the roll?
Councilmember Godam. Present. Councilmember Irving.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman.
Here.
Mayor Becerra.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Closed sessions announcements by our city attorney, Mr. DeBernowski.
Thank you, Mayor Becerra. We had 6 items this evening. The first item was anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D4. The other 5 items were all existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1. The case names and case numbers are set forth with respect to those 5 items. With respect to all items, there is no reportable action at this time.
Thank you, sir. If you'd please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation tonight will be led by Pastor Joseph Garvey with Calvary Chapel of Victorville, and our pledge will be led by our current captain, Randy Sherman.
I want to thank you guys for having me out this evening. Every time I come here, I always met with a welcoming face, and I thank you guys for that. Okay, let us pray. Father God, we just come before you. We thank you for this evening, Lord. In Romans chapter 13, verse 1, it says, "Everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. And we know that you are truth and love, and I want to thank you for placing each board member here this evening. We thank you for giving them a servant's heart to serve this city in kindness, in love, and in respect towards each other and their many residents. Lord, we ask for your presence to fill this room so that decisions can be made morally, justly, and unselfishly. Lord, be with everyone here that is listening, watching, and actively taking part in this meeting. Be with those here that will be addressing their concerns or thoughts regarding their city. Be with the city council, and may your Holy Spirit fill this room. Amen.
Amen.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, our special presentations are going to be handled, the first 2 are going to be handled by our city manager, Keith Metzler. Mr. Metzler, I'll let you take them over, both over.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to call Police Captain Jerry Davenport up to the podium. And while he's walking up, I'll do a brief introduction of him and then have him share a few words with you. So first, I'm pleased to introduce to you our new police captain, Mr. Jerry Davenport. Captain Davenport has taken the reins from Randy German, who's been promoted to assistant sheriff, overseeing all of the desert stations for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Captain Davenport is a 27-year veteran of the Sheriff's Department. He began his career in 1997 with an assignment at the West Valley and Central Detention Centers. He then progressed steadily through the ranks, including service as a deputy in Fontana, detective in Hesperia, sergeant in Victorville, and the lieutenant in charge of the Special Investigation Division for Homicide and Crimes Against Children. Most recently, Captain Davenport oversaw the West Valley Detention Center. I'd like you to join me in welcoming Captain Jerry Davenport to Victorville. He'll be joining us early next month, our first meeting in May. He'll be sitting up here at the dais with us.
Yes, sir.
And as you see, one of your roles is going to be leading us in the pledge.
Yes, sir.
One of the more important roles. Certainly, Randy, as we bid you farewell, I must share with you that we are extremely grateful for your dedicated service to the city of Victorville, and certainly with you working as the assistant sheriff over Desert Cities, we'll still certainly look forward to working with you and continuing our relationship. Thank you for everything that you've done in working with me.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jerry Davenport. I'm pleased to be your new captain here in Victorville starting May 3rd. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve your residents here in Victorville. And if there's anything that I could do to make the Victorville Police Department a success, my phone is always on. I'm always available, and look forward to meeting all of you. And then thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to add that it's been 1 year being promoted to sheriff, so we'll wait and see where you're at in another year. But the joke that we have here in Victorville is you serve 1 year in Victorville, it's equal to 5 years of service anywhere else in the county. The next item that I have for you is our quarterly recognition of our new hires and our formal introduction of our new hires to you as the city council. But then we also are having our quarterly celebration of a number of employee promotions. So with that, I'd like to invite your Human Resources Officer, Ms. Heather Barber, to the podium, along with Assistant Human Resources Director, Sandra Bostic.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. We are here this evening to recognize our new hires and promotions for the months of January, February, and March. First, I would like to recognize the newest members of our city team. They will be called to the stand in front of the dais, presented with a pin by Sandra. And then I will invite you all down to take a photo with our newest members of the City of Victorville team. To start off today, we're going to have Lizette Lagunas. She was hired recently as our Recreation Manager in Community Services. Lizette is not here, my apologies. Our next one is Ariana Gonzalez. She was hired as an Office Assistant in Fire. We have Crystal Garcia, Office Assistant with Human Resources. Amber Darling, Finance Analyst with Finance. Sarah Ibarra, Customer Service Rep with Finance. And Erica Herrera, Customer Service Rep with Finance. And then if you guys would like to come down, Bob? Nope, okay. Oh. Now we're going to recognize the promotions we had for January, February, and March. I will be calling each of them to stand up at the front of the dais, and at the end of the presentation, we will take a photo. Michael Grego, Senior Sweeper Operator with Public Works. Juliana Montano, Risk and Emergency Management Tech with Human Resources. Bridget Cant, Engineering Technician with Engineering. Nicole Samario, Administrative Secretary with Building. Zyra Smith, Animal Control Officer 2 with Code. Leslie Lopez, Animal Control Officer 2 with Code Compliance. Federico sorry, I'm going to say this wrong, Velanoeth, Senior Maintenance Worker, Public Works. Anthony Manriquez, Senior Maintenance Worker, Public Works. Nathaniel Miguel, Senior Maintenance Worker, Public Works. Anthony Flores, Senior Maintenance Worker, Public Works. Elise Tomlin, Enforcement Manager, Code Compliance. Robert Evans, Senior Maintenance Worker with Community Services. James Morowski, Airport Director, Airport. Guadalupe Cruz, Plan Checker with Building. Vanya Vasquez, Management Tech, Human Resources. Karina Caminetti, Management Tech, Human Resources. and Sandra Bostic, Assistant Director of Human Resources. No. No.
And Heather Barber, Human Resources Officer.
I was gonna say. That's it, right? I think we're done, right?
Do you have another presentation of?
Oh, yes. Don't move. Our last presentation will be for a proclamation declaring April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. If council could join me back there. Okay. Thank you, sir. If we could have Juan Solis from the Children's Network of San Bernardino County come forward and join me. I don't see him. Oh, there he is in front of me. Everyone's looking, we're both looking over there, right there. One, it's sad that we have to have a Child Abuse Prevention Month, but I thank you for what you do to put it forward. One, I'm proud to join the Victorville City Council proclaiming April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the city of Victorville. We encourage all citizens to help prevent child abuse and to provide for the physical, emotional, and developmental needs of our children. Thank you to the Children's Network for your efforts to protect all of our community's children. I'm pleased to present you with a proclamation from the City Council. This proclamation reads, whereas April 2025 has been proclaimed as Child Abuse Prevention Month by the state and federal government for the purpose of promoting community involvement in preventing child abuse. And whereas 31,000 children in San Bernardino County were referred in 2024 to the Children's Family Services for suspected child abuse and neglect. The prevention of child abuse requires rigorous solutions, energy, strength, determination, and commitment on the part of concerned citizens and the community. And whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce and eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. All children have the right to receive the care, protection, and guidance of a family provides. They have the right to be free from harm and to have their physical, emotional, and educational needs met. And whereas the blue ribbon is the international symbol for child abuse prevention, the Children's Network has planned a Blue Ribbon Media campaign, the 25th Annual Shine a Light on Child Abuse Prevention Award Ceremony to increase awareness of child abuse during the month of April. Now therefore, I, Elizabeth Becerra, Mayor of the City of Victorville, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Victorville and encourage all citizens to participate in the events and join efforts to end child abuse. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having us today. Thank you for declaring April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the wonderful city of Victorville. Child abuse comes in many forms and may include physical, emotional, sexual, and neglect. We recognize the detrimental effects that child abuse and neglect have not only on the victim's health and well-being, but on the health of our communities. Studies such as the Adverse Childhood Experiences demonstrate that children who experience severe adversity and maltreatment are far more likely to experience negative health and behavioral outcomes later on in life. We all benefit when child have safe, stable, nurturing environments that help prevent ACEs and eminently promote positive childhood experiences. Suspected child abuse can be anonymously reported by calling the child abuse hotline at 800-827-8724. Let me repeat that, 800-827-8724. Each one of you serve as the eyes and ears to your community, and it only takes a minute to make a call that might help a child or family in need, or get connected to support network. And I am Juan Solis, Father Engagement Coordinator, representing Children's Network. I also oversee our Inland Empire Father Involvement Coalition. Fatherhood is at the forefront as well on preventing child abuse and neglect. And so we thank you from Children's Network for this proclamation.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, will you please present the agenda and any revisions thereto?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have revisions to agenda item number 9 this evening. It's revising attachment B, Victorville Water District Basic Financial Statements for fiscal year end June 30th, 2024. The watermark with the word draft was removed from the report. Page 4 of the document updated April XX 2025 to April 10th, 2025. Page 43 of the report updated the following 3 blank values in the table for fiscal year 2024. Plans covered payroll equals $7,424,195. Plans proportionate share of the net pension liability as percentage of its covered payroll to 237.21%. Fiduciary net pension as a percentage of the total pension liability to 16.51%. Page 45 of the report updated the following 2 blank values in the table for fiscal year 2024. Covered payroll equals $9,139,039. Contributions as a percentage of covered payroll equals 20%. Page 46 of the report updated the following blank value in the table for fiscal year 2024. Covered employee payroll equals $8,679,777. Revising attachment C, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Basic Financial Statements for fiscal year end June 30th, 2024. The watermark with the word draft was removed from the report. Page 4 of the document updated April XX 2025 to April 10th, 2025. Page 40, Section C, updated the contribution amount from $15,213 to $20,166. $90 in administrative costs to $78, and $7,724 in subsidy to $7,892. Page 53 of the report updated the following three blanks values in the table for fiscal year 2024. Plans covered payroll, $2,069,493. Plans proportionate share of the net pension liability as percentage of its covered payroll to 238.23%. Fiduciary net pension as a percentage of the total pension liability to 4.62%. Page 55 of the report updated the following two blank values in the table for fiscal year 2024. Covered payroll equals $1,565,360. Contributions as a percentage of covered payroll equals 19.57%. Page 57 of the report updated the following two blank values in the table for fiscal year 2024. Plans covered payroll equals $2,557,509. Plans proportionate share of the total OPEB liability as percentage of its covered payroll equals 83.07%. Madam Mayor, that concludes the revisions to the agenda this evening.
Madam Clerk, could you go back to the second? No, I'm just joking. Thank you very much for that. We'll now go to public, oh, I'm sorry. Conflict of interest. Are there any conflict of interest from any of the council members? None? Okay, now we'll move on to introduction to public comments. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Victorville City Council. Your City Council is interested in your ideas and opinions and furthermore endeavors to incorporate them into its deliberations. At the same time, the council must be able to carry out its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, this meeting will be administered in accordance with the council's established policies and procedures in Government Code Section 54957.9 and 54957.95. Individuals may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during the public comments section, provided those issues are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Individual speakers may address the council once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. Additional time may be allotted for appeal hearings in accordance with the city's adopted policy and procedure manual. Those who desire to comment on a public hearing item may wish to reserve their remarks until that particular public hearing has been opened. All testimony is to be directed solely to the council. Although open meeting laws do not permit council members to engage in dialogue with any speaker during the public comment periods, please know your comments and questions may be taken into consideration by council members when discussing the particular agenda item. The presiding officer may briefly respond or have staff respond to statements or questions, or may request that the staff report back to the council at a subsequent meeting. Speakers are requested to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. The speaker will state the item number that will be addressed or that the subject is a non-agendized matter. Audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, and those who do are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Penal Code 403. Your understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Madam Mayor, our first speaker is Dalitha Estrada on a non-agendized item.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Talitha Estrada. As a transitioning hospital RN case manager to a community case manager, I'm very aware of the challenges the senior community faces, and my most recent concerns are seniors on very limited incomes are receiving citations of $200 to over $500 for not being compliant with landscaping. They don't realize there are assistance programs for those that are unable to financially comply with the city ordinance. Two of the programs would be the residential rehab program and senior home rehab program. Both have 1 to 2 year waiting list. With my nonprofit, Let's Fix It, I'm looking forward to joining that list of service providers to help ease a future burden. Many seniors don't know to call and ask about programs. It becomes very stressful for them. Many seniors don't have the ability to do the work themselves, so that puts an additional burden on them. There may not be family or friends available to assist them. While asking in the neighborhood just what some of the recent landscaping, like laying rock, was, one of my neighbors It was approximately $800, and it was a very small area. And I have documentation from them where they asked, excuse me, they asked for an extension and received that 30-day extension, and they did become compliant during that time. They were even sent a letter saying thank you, but here's a $510.45 bill to offset the cost for doing the inspections. And I have that letter and the bill that they received on top of, once they were given the the okay and the inspection. And they did use drought resistant rock for their yard. My second concern is while seniors are attempting to be environmentally conscious and reduce their already overburdened limited incomes, they're subject to predatory solar programs that are supposed to be no-cost government supported programs based on the Energy Conservation Act of 2001. That's when this act was started. The bill was amended in 2021 and
Your time is up.
restructured for solar companies to receive further grants to
Mrs.
provide.
Estrada, your time is up. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Do they have your name and your number? Mr. Metzger, can we have someone address the landscaping portion of her concerns, please?
Yes, we'll have staff, once we have her name and phone number, we'll have staff reach out.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Lisa Martinelli on a non-agendized item.
Good evening, fellow citizens. I'm not a stranger to speaking in public, but I'm a stranger to speaking here. It's very nice to be able to speak in front of all of you. Thank you for allowing me to do so. I stand before you to address a pressing issue, and I see an urgent need for greater transparency. This is really good right here, by the way. This shows a lot of fiscal work and fiduciary responsibility shown. But there were some programs that I couldn't find information online, and I'm just hoping to find that. Public trust is the foundation of good governance, and I'm sure you all know that. And that trust is eroded when decisions are made behind closed doors or without clear accountability. So our city undertakes projects that shape our community's future: roads, schools, public safety initiatives, and so forth, all funded by our tax dollars. Yet too often we're left, I feel like we're left in the dark about how these funds are allocated, who makes the decisions, and whether these projects truly serve the public's best interests. So I'm feeling a kind of a lack of openness. So hopefully we can get over that and get over some skepticism that might undermine our confidence in local government. A recent example raises serious concerns to me. It's the removal of Michael Kraus from the Measure P Oversight Committee. As you know, that's a critical initiative to fund essential city services, and its oversight demands integrity and independence. So Michael Kraus has been a vocal advocate for accountability, and this was a problem in Adelanto, the district in which I work, where accountability was called to question, and then Kraus was fired as the superintendent. And later on, during the election, a temporary restraining order was filed against him. There were several incidences of incorrect facts that were spoken at the last public meeting. The first one being that Kraus does not have to have an armed guard representing him at the meetings. And he also was not proven beyond a reasonable doubt to be guilty. And I feel like if we continue down this kind of a road of accusing people, anyone can have their First and Second Amendment rights or whatever constitutional rights taken away from them just because they call into question certain issues. So if I am wrong in saying I'd like a little bit more transparency in projects such as the Main Street revitalization
Your
project
time is up.
or other ones, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And make sure they have your, ma'am, make sure they have your name and a phone number. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Pinkerton on a non-agendized item.
Hi, folks. So I'm here tonight. First, I want to congratulate all those folks that have the good paying jobs. I appreciate that very much. I agree with, and I know Deborah Jones does too. I agree with Ronald Reagan when he said, the best social program is a good job. And these folks have good jobs with good benefits to support their family. So we got to all celebrate that. Now we're here, this group and me, we're here to remind you that taking away something from somebody that was serving the community, and that wasn't a good paying job. That was just something that took care of business. They didn't get paid to do that. And you guys were handed a copy of a restraining order that a local public entity paid $250,000 to get. Now, we don't want to see our public entities being weaponized to attack people that we don't like. And I'm not here to attack anybody. I'm here to support Michael Kraus. I'd like to ask that this council reconsider on that and reinstate Michael Kraus on the Measure P Oversight Committee. He did a good job. Every one of you folks said he did a fine job representing the city. I'd ask you to reconsider that. And I thank you for listening to me here tonight in this beautiful facility that the public paid for, and it's taxpayer money well spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkerton.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Reeder, non-agendized item.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Rader, and I have been employed with the Adelanto Elementary School District as a teacher for 30 years. In 2008, Deborah Jones filed a lawsuit against AESD for $1.075 million, alleging the school district failed to provide her son, Joshua Jones, with a free and appropriate education. At that time, I was Joshua's home hospital teacher. From October through May, I worked daily in the Jones home, witnessing firsthand the kind, loving, and dedicated support he received from his family. I also saw a child in desperate need of help. He was far from a typical student. I had no knowledge of the broader scope of the lawsuit or its implications. When I was subpoenaed, my role was limited to testifying about my direct experience, sharing the truth as I knew it. What I didn't realize then was that my testimony, which ultimately swayed the court in favor of the Jones family, would position me against the entire district. Since then, Deborah has often referred to me as a dear friend, even a sister, and has publicly praised my integrity and dedication as a teacher. She has spoken highly of my work with her son, called me an exemplary educator who truly cares for students. Yet now, when subpoenaed for a different court case, she has cast aspersions on my integrity and virtually called me a liar in open court, when all I did was testify truthfully about my own experiences and interactions with Mr. Michael Kraus, which were positive and bore no resemblance to the accusations leveled against him. Deborah Jones has defamed me to the Adelanto School Board on 2 occasions, twisting my words to malign others and making baseless accusations more suited to a tabloid talk show. About this time last year, during a phone conversation with Deborah, I was just spilling the tea with a friend, sharing the district gossip based on conjecture rather than fact. I am not proud of this. I considered it a private and personal conversation. I have since apologized to those affected when by the unfounded gossip, and when I was subpoenaed to testify to the matter of Mr. Kraus in court, I spoke only the truth. I share this context with you, the City Council, to provide a broader perspective on Mrs. Jones' vendetta against Michael Kraus. She has turned against me for doing the very same thing she praised when it benefited her. Please reinstate Michael Kraus as oversight for Measure P. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that concludes our speakers this evening.
Thank you very much. Our next public hearings, our first business of order is the Doris Davy Ribbon Gutter Reconstruction Project. Notice of exemption and award of construction contract. Mr. Metzler, would you kindly introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This item is brought forward to you to address damage that was experienced during Tropical Storm Hillary back in August of 2023, and for us, served as a significant rain event. And that rain event tore through all of the Victor Valley, but as it relates to this item, tore through the Oro Grande Wash. And as that's a very long wash traversing much of the Victor Valley, there's a big segment of it that runs through our community, through the golf course, and in this particular case, through the Doris Davies Park. And so damage was experienced to that concrete drainage structure that did exist, requiring significant repair. And so since that time, staff has been working to secure the environmental and conduct the design, which the design for this project was done all in-house. And the work product of staff is now here before you after not only having completed the design, having actually conducted an informal bid for the construction work, soliciting bids, receiving 5 respondents, and 1 low bidder. And so with that, this item is brought for you as a notice of exemption and award of construction contract. It has been authored by your city engineer, Mr. Freddie Bonilla, and he's certainly available for any additional questions or comments you might have.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council open and conduct a public hearing and receive testimony regarding the proposed project, close the public hearing, approve the notice of exemption, and authorize staff to file the notice with the Office of Planning and Research and the County Clerk, adopt resolution number 25-036 to amend the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget to reflect an additional appropriation of $110,100 from Fund 202 and additional expenses in the amount of $110,100 from Fund 202 and award a construction contract to Kelly's Underground Construction, Inc. in the amount of $206,720.
Thank you. At this time, we'll do technical questions from council members. Councilmember Jones?
I have none, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Godin?
I have none, thank you.
Councilmember Irving?
No questions, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
Of course I do. Excuse me. The damage that has it been cleaned out yet? The damage that was caused by the storm. Actually, it's been going on for a long time. I'm familiar with it. But is the broken concrete and the riprap and everything, is it in place and the contractor needing to remove it, or have we dressed it up for him to do the work?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. So when the rain event came through town, it dislodged the concrete ribbon gutter and created an unsafe condition. Our Public Works Department actually responded, removed most of that underlying concrete which had been damaged. And the extent of this contract is to go through there, fine grade the site, bring it back to its original condition, and restore the ribbon gutter. So the affected concrete has been removed, but there are still some segments that need to be removed. So the answer is some of the items have been done in-house already, but most of the work will be done by this contractor.
Okay, and then how come we haven't engineered it better so it doesn't happen again?
So that's a very complicated question. And I'm going to do my best to answer it. I think the original intent of that ribbon gutter was to deal with essentially nuisance flows. We've studied it and we're in the process of doing it. It's actually something that was the direction of our executive team to put the permanent structure needed to be able to take back the park. You're essentially talking about putting in together a pretty massive box culvert through that park. You'd have to put in 2 crossings at the streets. We're doing that evaluation right now, but as you could imagine, to put a box culvert of that length and of that size, it's probably going to be a multi-million-dollar project, and it'll require extensive environmental permits. The extent of this contract is to essentially put back what was already there prior to the storm event in 23.
And we don't know if it's CEQA exempt yet. We still
It is CEQA exempt because it was an existing structure.
okay. And so this is performing pretty much the same as the golf course, the gutter that comes through the golf course.
That is correct. And so the work's actually being bifurcated. The contractor will be doing the grading, will be doing the concrete work, but the actual landscaping restoration will be done by our facility staff, our park staff that are already gonna hydro seed. So time is of the essence to get in there, do what we can to be able to give that hydro seed an opportunity to take.
And then I just
before
have
the
one
rainy
last
season starts.
question. Isn't really, but as a concrete guy, are they going to pump that concrete in to place it, or are they going to drive trucks on the park?
It will be means and methods. It'll be up to the contractor. Obviously, if they choose to drive through the park, they're going to have to restore any damage that they create as part of that.
So they're responsible for any damage that's done to the irrigation system or the turf.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Freddie.
The only question I have, it's kind of going to piggyback on Bob's, but the turf is being removed, what are they, 12 foot back from the existing ribbon? Because they're taking it back down.
Let me see. It's a great question.
So it's going to look like they've damaged it, but actually it should be cut back.
It will be cut back to
Yeah.
restore. So there is going to be some excess spoils that are going to be removed from the site. So you should see a much lower elevation. And of course, any erosion that has happened in the last year and a half will also be removed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bonilla. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'll now close the public hearing. Invited a motion for this item. Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
First by Mayor Becerra, second by Mayor Pro Tem Harriman. I have no comments. Good job, guys. Mr. Harriman, any comments on the motion?
No, I have none.
Councilwoman Jones?
No, thank you.
Councilwoman Godin?
None, thank you.
Councilwoman Irving?
No comments, thank you.
Madam Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godam,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We've now taken action to approve points 3 through 5 of staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda. We'll now move on to the consent calendar, items 2 through 8. I'll invite a motion for this.
Madam Mayor, I move that the council and the council acting on its various boards take action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda.
Second?
We have a first by Councilwoman Jones, a second by Councilwoman Godin. Madam Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godam,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Harriman, Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We've now taken action on items 2 through 8 in accordance with recommendation as set forth on the agenda. Council members, since items 9 and 10 are substantially similar in nature, that being the annual financial report and the annual single audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, the chair moves that council considers item 9 and 10 concurrently with council member questions and comments treated as one items. Do I have a second?
Second?
Madam Clerk, will you kindly take the vote?
Councilmember Godam,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving, Councilmember Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Harriman, Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We've now taken action to consider 9 and 10 concurrently. Mr. Metzler, would you kindly introduce items 9 and 10?
Thank you, Madam Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Annually, after the closeout of each fiscal year, the city brings in an independent auditor to conduct a formal audit of the city's financials along with that of the city's affiliated entities. The annual audit is now complete, and we have our finance director, Ms. Carmen Kuhn, to further introduce this item and to invite a brief presentation from our independent auditing firm.
Thank you, Mr. Messler. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to start by giving us a little bit of history and recapping the status of the prior audit. On June 18th of 2024, we presented the Honorable City Council the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, also known as the ACFR for fiscal year 2023, along with the single audit. Unlike the ACFR, which is an audit of all of the financial statements, a single audit focuses primarily or actually only on federal grants. These audits were initiated and worked on with prior staff that actually separated with our organization prior to these audits completing. And so as such, we had finance staff that had to step up and assisted us with immediately jumping in and wrapping up these audits. The result of that was that we concluded both audits, unfortunately late, but we also had several findings. We had 6 findings to be exact. And so in other words, we had 6 areas that required major attention and improvement. So as such, finance staff immediately turned around and kicked off the intermediate audit for fiscal year 2024. We knew we had to make major changes with our processes, with our practices, and so we began to make changes wherever we could and as quickly as we possibly could. But we knew that doing this was going to cause a necessary delay in actually starting the audit. We like to start ideally in mid-September, but unfortunately we weren't able to start until 2 months later, mid-November. And so as we were making these changes, we were enhancing what we possibly could. We actually also faced 3 major challenges during this process. The first one is new staff all around. At the time that the fiscal year 2024 audit began, we actually had 5 new staff members in the accounting division. This includes our Assistant Director of Finance, Ms. Kayvanian, who's here today, 1 finance analyst, 1 accountant, 2 finance techs. We had 2 vacancies, and I had a whole 6 months of experience as Director of Finance at the time. Additionally, we did have 2 other senior members, but I don't know that you would call senior when you add up their experience with the City of Victorville together or combined, they had 3 years, and they hadn't been exposed to the major key components of the audit. So really, you had an entire team jumping in for the first time. In addition to new staff, we had another major challenge that affected the whole city, and that was we had a cyber incident. So for roughly 4 weeks, we had manual transactions citywide that we were doing. And so our technology department worked around the clock to get us back up and running and to get us the data that we needed. And when they did, we came up on what they call a disaster recovery site or environment. And the ramifications of that is that we couldn't have custom reports nor third-party integrations. So while we were able to get in there and start conducting business as we were accustomed to, we were still limited. And finally, when Tyler Tech allowed us to get off the disaster recovery and back on a cloud-hosted environment, which we're on today, the technology department jumped on and started to create the custom reports that we needed. Now, these custom reports are critical to finance because we used them and we continue to use them to reconcile and to run critical processes. So we were months without these reports during that fiscal year. Additionally, you can imagine that this created months of backlog of manually recreating transactions. And I have to give kudos to the entire city for being so diligent because the city staff maintained impeccable records so that we could track, if paper receipt was 1, 2, 3, we had a table that told us what it was electronically, whether it was transactions, payroll, payments, etc. And our third challenge was a little more unique to finance, and that is we were running multiple audits at the time. Our executive team knew that we needed all the assistance we can get, and they provided us all the resources they could possibly think of, so thank you for that. And we brought on BDO Consulting. Now, BDO Consulting basically helped us and created a roadmap for us to determine what areas of improvement do we need to work on. At the end result, the report confirmed a lot of the items that we had on our list, but they also shed light on a few items that we hadn't seen yet. So we were very grateful for that, because now we have a roadmap of additional items that we get to enhance. And so at this point, we're finally here today to present fiscal year 2024 ACFR and the single audit. And I am beyond pleased to say that we have 0 findings for the fiscal year. So we're thrilled with that. And I have to say that this incredible accomplishment would not be able without all of the assistance of the departments, the support from our executive team, the professionalism of working with Badawi and Associates, our current auditor, and of course, the tremendous effort of the finance team. We do have some next steps. We know that this audit is still a little bit late, so we definitely own that, and we're working on that, and hopefully bringing this fiscal year 2025 audit and single audit on a much better time frame for all of you. And then, of course, continuous improvement. There's always going to be room for that. And so with that, I would like to introduce Mr. Ahmed Badawi from Badawi and Associates. He is the founder and president of a CPA firm. Thank you. Is Mr. Badawi online?
He is on, so let me see what's going on.
Yes, good afternoon. I am on. Let me see if I can share my screen. I think I can. So good evening. My name is Ahmed Badawi. I was the audit partner on the City of Victorville's audit. Today, I'll present to you the results of the 2024 audit. So I am sharing my screen, so hopefully everyone can see it. I am going to go to the slide mode and we'll get started. Right. So this is, like I mentioned, the 2024 audit of the City of Victorville. And the agenda for today, I will let you know a little bit about our firm and the engagement team. I will talk about the deliverables and the scope of our audit, brief overview of the methodology that we followed in our audit, areas of primary audit risk that we identified, the type of audit opinion we issued, a summary of the number in the financial statements as well, provide you some of the required communications as your independent auditor, brief overview of the new accounting standards. And with that, I'll get started. Just a brief overview of our firm and the engagement team. So this is our first year with the city. So we are a California-based firm. We have about 25 years of experience. We are a specialized firm. We work mostly with municipal entities. We have about 65 government audit clients. We work with about 44 cities. We have about 30 employees. And so far, we have 0 lawsuits, disciplinary actions against the firm, or anything of that nature. So it's just an overview of our firm. And then just focusing on the engagement team. This was the composition of our engagement team. I was the engagement partner. I am the person ultimately responsible for the audit. We always have a quality control reviewer. This person is a partner as well, and they review our work, making sure that we adhere to professional standards. They also provide a second review of the financial statements. We had an audit manager, an audit senior, and 3 professional staff assigned to the audit. We also have an IT specialist, an IT auditor, that to assist us with understanding the city's controls embedded in the information system and the computer system. In terms of our deliverables and the scope of our audit, so, sorry, slide pops for some reason. We were mostly engaged or mainly engaged to provide an opinion on the annual comprehensive financial report, That is the city's financial statements. That includes all funds and assets and liabilities. We were also engaged to provide an opinion on the single audit. The single audit is the audit of the federal grants. Also, we provided an opinion on the audit of the component units, the Airport Logistic Authority, and also the Victorville Water District. We provided and agreed upon procedures on the GAN limit, the appropriation limit. And then finally, the communication with those charged with governance. I have met previously with the audit committee, and I am doing that communication as well today with the city council, and we also issue a letter summarizing that communication. In terms of our audit methodology, so just really a brief overview that the audit is a process that it really takes the whole year. I know Carmen mentioned that we just completed the audit. I'm probably going to be reaching out to them and scheduling the 2025 audit in the next week or two. It is a process that is done throughout the year. It starts with a planning phase where we gather information from management about any changes to staff or processes or any unique transactions that we should consider. The interim phase is when we actually conduct interviews with city staff. We document our understanding of the processes that are in place. We see if we can identify any deficiencies in those processes. We perform a risk assessment based on those deficiencies identified. And then we come in for the year-end phase where the city have already closed its books, its accounting records. We validate the account balances. We test transactions. We make sure that they're properly valued and accounted for. And then finally, the reporting phase where we issued the financial statements and the audit reports. So that's just a brief overview of the methodology. And then moving on to the area of primary audit risk. So I always like to qualify before I go through those slides that there are no audits that have no risks, no risk-free audits. Every audit has some risks involved. Same like when we drive our car. There are always a risk involved when we drive. So just wanted to highlight to you some of the risks that we considered. And those are pretty standard risks that exist in most audits. Just wanted to bring to your attention. The first one is the risk of management override of controls. And we always look at it that management is the one in charge of designing the internal control over financial reporting. They are the one responsible for monitoring and overseeing those controls, and oftentimes they are in a position to override them. So these are some of the procedures that we perform and the consideration that we take when we plan our audit to minimize that risk. Making sure that we assign more experienced personnel to more complex areas of the audit, to incorporate an element of unpredictability in the audit process, so we don't necessarily advertise to management all the detail of our testing and audit plan. We evaluate how management apply accounting principles. We test journal entries prepared by management to review any estimates prepared by management, evaluate business rationale for any unusual transaction, and obviously we conduct fraud inquiries throughout the city as we interview city staff. Another area of higher risk is revenue and receivables, the risk of improper revenue recognition. So professional auditing standards consider revenue to be an area of a higher risk by default. So there's really not a whole lot that we do there. It is already by default an area of a higher risk. We rely heavily on confirmations with third parties. So we communicate directly with the county, with the state, with other granting agencies and other significant revenue sources. We ask them to confirm amounts submitted to the city. We reconcile those to the city's accounting records and make sure that we're able to reconcile them. We also perform a lot of substantive analytics on the utility billing. We perform testing on those utility billing and consumption analysis and many other analytical procedures. Cybersecurity was a risk that we considered during our audit, as Carmen mentioned, that there was some disruption. So obviously, from our standpoint, anytime there was a disruption in inputting of transactions that were done manually and then had to be re-input into the system, it just automatically increases the risk that maybe something is not complete or that maybe the data was not transferred properly. In addition to that, during that time, also the city transitioned into cloud environment instead of on-prem. So that created risk for us. The fact that there was a cyber incident and at the same time also transitioning to a cloud environment, we were not able to verify some of the balances, how they transferred from the old environment to the new environment. So it's a risk that we planned our audit around, and at the end, the results were that we issued a clean opinion, an unmodified opinion. And then lastly, also accounting estimates are always an area of a higher risk. Obviously, there is some level of uncertainty in accounting estimates by nature, so that is why they are a higher risk. So just bring to your attention some of the estimated numbers in your financial statements, the fair value of investments, the estimated lives of capital assets, assumptions in estimating the pension liability and the OPEB liabilities. All of those are considered to be accounting estimates. So moving on to the auditor's report and the financial statements. So first, just covering our auditor's report, the report states the standards that we followed, and those are the generally accepted auditing standards, and in addition to that, also the government auditing standards. So those were the standards that we followed. I mentioned earlier that we have issued an unmodified opinions, and that means that we believe financial statements are fairly presented in all material respect, that all accounting policies have been consistently applied, that all estimates are reasonable, and that all disclosures are properly reflected in the financial statements. I mentioned opinions because we obviously issued an opinion on the city and one on the water district, and one on the airport, and single audit, and so on. So we issued several opinions. The next few slides, just really a bird's eye view of the numbers in the city's financial statements. This is a summary of the city's assets over the last 3 years. This is not really focusing on any specific fund. This is all funds combined, all city assets combined, almost looking at a parent company, including all its subsidiaries. So as you will see, probably the two largest assets are the cash and investments and the capital assets, and that's very typical with every city we audit. That's what we expect to see normally on a balance sheet. Beside the increase in cash, I think all the other numbers were fairly consistent. City had positive results of operation that contributed to the increase in cash. On this slide here is a summary of the city's liabilities over the last 3 years. And nothing really of significance here. Some increases and decreases, but just the normal course of business. And then this slide here is the city's assets minus the liabilities, what we call the net position. It's basically the city's equity. And it is divided into 3 categories. The largest category is what we call the net investment in capital assets. This is an amount that is not in a spendable form. This is how much the city invested in streets and roads and buildings and other infrastructure. Restricted amounts are restricted by third parties, so it can be grant funds that are unspent, bond money, it can be gas tax that have a specific purpose and legal restrictions on them. And then the unrestricted amounts are the amounts that are under the council control with no restriction. This slide here is a comparison of what we call the net cost of service to tax revenue. The net cost of service is the cost of running city departments minus revenues that those departments bring in on their own. So those can be either fees to users or it can be grants that offset their cost. The net cost of service does fluctuate quite a bit because if there were grants in certain years and then those grants are gone, then you will see the net cost of service increase, and that's what's happening in 2024. Excuse me. In addition to that, also the pension expense, where it used to be a negative amount in the prior year and now it's a positive amount. So those 2 factors are really causing the increase in the net cost of service year over year. But the tax revenue seems to be increasing year over year and seems to have always consistently been higher than the net cost of service, which is obviously what we look for, is that the tax revenues are sufficient to cover the deficit in the net cost of service. If we were to focus just on the general fund, and the general fund, we always use it to measure the city's liquidity because this is where most unrestricted resources reside. What we do on the slide is we compare the unrestricted fund balance of the general fund to the total expenditures of the general fund. The idea is to see, in the very unlikely scenario that all revenue sources stop coming in, how long can the city continue to pay bills using existing fund balance? So we've determined that you can probably do that for about 15 months using your unrestricted fund balance. That's obviously a very healthy fund balance, and it continued to increase year over year. So definitely a positive results for the fund, for the general fund. Just a couple of more slides on the numbers. I mentioned that some numbers are estimated numbers. So one of the most significant are the pension liability. So accounting standards require us to disclose what the liability would be if the discount rate increase or decrease by 1%. Discount rate is one of the most significant assumptions that the actuary basically developed during estimating the pension liability number. So you can see that the city's number is that middle row, that called current rate, which currently is at 6.9%. And the total pension liability for the city is about $90 million. If that discount rate decreased by 1%, the liability goes up to $115 million. If that discount rate increased by 1%, it goes down to $54 million. So you can see the sensitivity of the pension liability number to the change in the discount rate. And then similar to pension, also the OPEB liability, which is a retiree medical benefit, also is an estimated number. Discount rate is also a significant assumption. So similar to pension, just disclosing the sensitivity of the number to the discount rate. And the last part of my presentation is what we call the required communications. And in this slide here, we're going to try to summarize to you our responsibility versus the city's responsibility in this process. So our responsibilities as your independent auditor is to provide an opinion on the financial statements, whether they are fairly stated or not. To also evaluate internal control over financial reporting. To evaluate compliance with laws and regulations, contracts and grants. To ensure that the financial statements are clear and transparent, to communicate with the governing body as well. Management have a lot of responsibilities in this process. So management have to take responsibility for the financial statements. Even though we are hired to audit the numbers and certify them, our audit is done on a test basis using materiality thresholds, and we are never in a position to provide absolute assurance. Our audit only provides reasonable assurance. Which is still a high degree of assurance, but it does not relieve management from its responsibility. Management is responsible to establish and maintain internal control over financial reporting, to make all financial records available to us, to establish internal control to prevent and detect fraud, inform us of all known and suspected fraud, comply with laws and regulations, and take corrective action on audit findings. As far as independence, we as the independent audit firm are the party responsible to maintain our independence. We maintain our independence by adhering to the AICPA and the California Board of Accountancy rules. And we evaluate any service that we offer the city, for example, assisting in compiling the financial statements. This is a service that can impair our independence. We have to ensure that we are not making any decisions, that we are just compiling the financials from the numbers provided by the city. We also ensure that there is an independent reviewer not involved in the audit that also review those financial statements to be able to maintain our independence. Obviously, we determined that we have maintained our independence during this process. As far as timing of the audit, I think you heard earlier that it was not within the time frame originally communicated with the city. We believe that we know, like our firm and the city know how and the reasons, and we have already discussed how we can address them going forward. So I look forward to a more timely audit in 2025. As far as significant accounting policies and unusual transactions, so there were no unusual transactions, but the city did implement a new accounting standard this year, GASB Statement Number 100, accounting changes and error corrections. As far as difficulties encountered in performing the audit, no difficulties really to report. Besides some of the delays, I felt that, or we as the audit team felt that city's responses were adequate, that city have taken the process seriously, documentations were adequate, responses were timely for the most part. So we were definitely pleased with the interaction with city staff. In terms of significant audit adjustments and unadjusted differences, so anytime the audit discovered errors or maybe omitted information, we propose adjusting entries to correct those errors. There were some adjustments and reclassifying entries, and management has agreed and posted all those adjustments. As far as deficiencies and internal control over financial reporting, so there were no material weaknesses identified. This is the only thing that we are allowed to say that there are none, because other less severe deficiencies may exist in the city that may have not come to our attention. So we're not really in a position to say that there are no deficiencies at all in internal control, but at least we can say that there are no deficiencies that will cause a material misstatement in the financial statements. And then finally, just a brief overview of the new accounting standards. So obviously, I'm probably not going to go through the detail of those standards, but just wanted to bring to your attention that every year there are new standards that the city have to comply with. And we, as the audit firm, we discuss with the city throughout the year what those standards are and whether they may apply to the city or not, how the city can prepare for them. We also host an annual training seminar where we go into a lot of detail about those standards and the implementation. But just wanted to bring to your attention that those are the ones out there for the next couple of years. With that concludes my presentation. I want to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity. It was definitely a pleasure, and I am more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation for both items respectively, please?
For item number 9, the recommendation is that your Honorable City Council and Board of Directors approve a motion to receive and file the following: City of Victorville Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Victorville Water District Basic Financial Statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. And Southern California Logistic Airport Authority Basic Financial Statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Item number 10's recommendation is that the Honorable City Council receive and file the fiscal year 2023-2024 single audit report.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we'll do technical questions from council members regarding items 9 and 10. Councilmember Godin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Jones?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Irving?
I don't have questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
I have none.
Thank you. Believe it or not, I have one. Mr. Metzler, on his report, I don't know if you have access to it. Here, I'll give it down to you. On the report that they showed us online, page 18, it says accounts receivable. It shows $6 million less this year from last year. Is that money that people are paying us, or that's money that we're getting for different Measure I, gas tax, things like that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. The receivable effectively, this is showing an aggregate.
Go ahead. I was on the 18.
This is showing an aggregate number for all of the organizations, but to give you an example, this could be a utility bill on account that hasn't been fully paid off or that hasn't been paid. So it's likely accounts that have been accruing and ultimately getting paid down is what I see in this column.
Okay, so it's money that we're getting back to us, so it's kind of in the best that we're getting less and less, owing less and less.
When your receivables go down, you're expecting cash to come in to reduce that receivable.
Thank you very much, sir, and that's all I have. At this time, I'll invite a motion for both of these items.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move that the council and the council working on its various boards of directors take action in accordance with the recommendations set forth as to items 9 and 10 as presented on the agenda.
I have a first by Councilmember Jones, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Harriman. Councilmember Jones, any comments on the pending motion?
I do, just very quickly, if I may. So, Mr. Metzler, I know I've already told this to you, but I'm going to tell you again. This is the 6th year that I've served on this audit committee for the city council, and in my mind, at least, this is the best reporting that I've seen yet, and I'm very, very proud of it, and especially so because there were so many obstacles in our way with the issues with cybersecurity and staffing and so forth. I think you are to be commended and your staff is to be commended for really stepping up to the plate and getting it done when, time was a crunch, and you just can't get numbers wrong. This is critical. This is critical to the council to be able to rely on what we have before us, and it's critical to our residents to know that they can trust our numbers and that we are in fact being transparent. I was delighted as all get out that there were no material weaknesses. That's, in my mind, that's huge. So again, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman, any comments?
Ms. Jones mentioned.
Thank you. Councilmember Godin?
Yes, I also echo the sentiments of my fellow council members, and great job on this report. Thank you for all your hard work from staff. Well done.
Thank you. Councilmember Irwin?
Yes, I too. I want to say congratulations to staff for the hard work and for embracing the challenges and overcoming them, demonstrating your talent and your commitment to excellence. Thank you very much. You are to be congratulated.
Mr. Metzler, Mrs. Kuhn, thank you very much. Well done. You did it. Took you a minute, but you got it. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godin,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman, Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We've now taken action to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda for items 9 and 10. Let's do it again, since items 11 and 12 are similar in nature. That being dealing with the former New Way Cleaner site. The chair moves that council consider items 11 and 12 concurrently with council member questions and comments treated as one item. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you kindly take the vote?
Councilmember Godin,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman, Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Mr. Metzler, would you kindly introduce items 11 and 12?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. The city owns property in its role as the housing asset successor, commonly referred to as the New Way site. And the New Way site has been ongoing environmental remediation for several years. And based upon feedback that we received from the Lahontan region of the State Water Quality Control Board, additional work is being required of us, including the continuance of a soil vapor extraction system and a well monitoring system. And so this item amends an existing contract with Ninyo Moore to include a scope of work to carry out the additional work required by us from the regulatory agency. And so that's really the focus of item number 10. And item number 11, I'm sorry, that was the focus of item number 11. The focus of item number 12 is effectively dealing with the acceptance of grant funds being made available from the State Water Quality Control Board through the Lahontan region in an amount of $483,353. Those grant monies are effectively expected to be used to offset the costs that are being identified in item number 11. And so with that, in both of these cases, the items have been authored by your Deputy City Manager, Mr. Tony Camargo, and he's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, would you please read the recommendations for both items respectively?
Item number 11's recommendation that the Honorable City Council, acting as the city as housing asset successor, approve Amendment Number 1 to the Consultant Professional Services Provider Agreement by and between the city as housing asset successor, or CHAS, of the former Victorville Redevelopment Agency and Nenyo and Moore Geotechnical and Environmental Sciences Consultants in the amount not to exceed $252,494.31. For item number 12, that the Honorable City Council adopt Resolution number 25-019, entering into a site cleanup sub-account program, SCAP, grant agreement with the California State Water Resources Control Board, accepting the grant award in the amount of $483,353 for the purposes of funding site investigation and remedial action at the former New Way Dry Cleaner site. Authorize the city manager to execute the agreement and amendments subject to minor non-substantive changes, and designate the deputy city manager as an additional signing agent of the city authorized to sign and submit any and all documents related to the request for reimbursement. And adopt resolution number 25-020, amending the annual budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, approving additional revenue and expenditures in the amount of $483,353.
Thank you. At this time, we'll do technical questions. Council members, Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
Can you turn your mic on, please?
How long is this going to go? I mean, I remember this, from the beginning. It's been going on for quite some time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. We don't have an exact time frame, but I can at least tell you what we believe is that we're close. In fact, we actually are kind of getting differing views from the different water boards. Obviously, the state water board, the parent water board, and then, of course, the local Lahontan region. In fact, we're getting feedback from the state overhead that they're actually satisfied with the work that's done. The constituency levels have dropped, but we're getting a requirement still from the Lahontan board. They'd like to see a little bit more. So I think the best answer we can give you at this point in time is that we're close. We're hoping that perhaps this is the last round, but ultimately we're at the mercy of the water board.
Councilmember Jones?
And thank you.
Councilmember Godin?
I already had all my questions answered. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Irving?
No questions, thank you.
And I have none. I'll invite a motion for these items.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move that the council and the council acting as a city as housing asset successor, specifically that on item 11, adopt staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda.
And item 12?
11 and 12.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who are you recognizing?
Ladies first.
Councilmember Godin. Councilmember Jones, any comments on the pending motion?
I have none, thank you.
Councilmember Godin?
I have none, thank you.
Councilmember Irving?
No, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
I can't wait for us to be done with this. This is crazy. I bet
Madam
you.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godin?
Yes.
Councilmember Irving?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
Yes.
Mayor Becerra?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously for items 11 and 12.
We've now taken action to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda. Item 13, La Paz Drive, Seneca Road Traffic Circle, Quick Build Project, Notice of Exemption and Intent to Accept Competitive Grant. Mr. Metzler, would you kindly introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This item involves the acceptance I'm sorry, notice of intent to accept the competitive grant that we had applied for. And it's the expectation that if we express our intent tonight by action, that SCAG will in fact award the funds to ultimately pursue this project. And this involves an application that we submitted recognizing the intersection of La Paz and Seneca Road is not geometrically ideal in terms of its configuration, and a way to perhaps explore on a pilot basis using non-permanent type improvements to that intersection to see if it functions better in a different configuration. So with that, I'm not going to say too much more to potentially steal the thunder of your city engineer, which is Freddie Bonilla. He's got a brief presentation to give you a sense of what we're talking about in this item.
Mr. Metzler, if you'd give me a minute, Mr. Bonilla, if you can give me a minute. Mr. Metzler, it just dawned on me, I'm on the SCAG Transportation Committee. Do I have to recuse myself? No? No, sir. I would just vote for the money to be awarded. So I need to tell them that it's being awarded, correct?
You can disclose that to them.
Okay, thank you. Continue. Thank you, Mr. Bonilla. Sorry about that. I wanted to stop before I needed to run out.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. As Mr. Metzler indicated, we've prepared a quick presentation to go over the specifics of what we are proposing to do at this geometrically difficult intersection. So these are the existing conditions of that intersection. As you can see, it is geometrically different. You know, as engineers, we like intersections to be at right angles. We have a curve there. It's designed as a knuckle intersection with 2 additional ingress points for northbound traffic on La Paz, as well as southbound traffic on Snakes Drive. You can see some of the existing traffic counts there. What we have seen with the conflict points, right? So as you are trying to get into that intersection, which is currently signalized, there are significant conflict points there. We've striped Mesa Drive southbound to be a right turn only, but we've seen people make lefts. Just because the striping is there doesn't necessarily mean that people will obey all, or our drivers will obey all traffic laws. So when you look at the existing intersection, we have a potential of 9 conflict points, 14 if you include that illegal left that I was describing. And so we see the need to improve the intersection. Additionally, as you can see, we've got some collision data that tells us that in the last 5 years, we've had a total of 8 collisions, 3 of which caused injuries. Luckily, no fatalities. The vast majority of the accidents are actually being caused by unsafe speeds and improper turning movements and DUIs, which unfortunately there's nothing that I can do in improvements or that the city can do in improvements to prevent that other than obviously outreach. So what we are proposing to do is to do a quick build project at this intersection, basically turning the signal off during a trial period and installing what we call a roundabout, if you will. Just going from the existing configuration to a 2-lane roundabout, we minimize our conflict points from 8. If this was a single-lane roundabout, we limit that to 4, basically at the entry point. So we're talking about minimizing the potential conflicts there during the turning movements. In order to be able to address this, we applied for a grant last fall, a quick build grant with the Southern California Association of Governments. It's approximately $503,000, of which $130,000 have been designated for design, $373,000 and change for construction. Total funding is $503,700. And I would like to point out that there is no local match. This is a 100% grant funded project. The quick build project that we are proposing, I am very, very proud to report that we are the only city in the entire San Bernardino County to actually receive the funds. So hooray to us. So what is a quick build project? This slide is to demonstrate what a quick build project is. And essentially, it's a quick build project that we can implement fairly quickly with interim improvements. So we're talking about rubber curbs, we're talking about striping, we're talking about delineators. something that the city can do fairly quickly to implement a traffic circle there and to study it to determine, will the new traffic pattern be safer for our residents? Will it cause less or more driver confusion? It gives us an opportunity to determine if this in fact would be a successful project. Again, it's grant funded, so we don't actually have to invest any of our existing funds. But it gives us an opportunity to determine, and if it is successful and the community accepts it, and community outreach is the big part of this grant, we'll have to reach out, we'll coordinate with our PIO to determine, if it's going to be accepted by the community. And if it is, then it makes us that much more competitive to go out for highway safety improvement program funds, that which we've been very successful in the past, to be able to actually implement this on a more permanent basis. Some of the details as far as the time frame, the quick build itself can be done fairly quickly. We anticipate the design and the MOU being done later this year, and hopefully being able to construct it either this fall or early winter next year. So it's fairly quickly for us. And then we study and implement it to determine if this is going to be something that's viable for the future. We actually submitted this intersection online, and someone actually put together a quick video. So I want to play that with you. And IT, if you don't mind, can you please hit play for us? So if they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, I would hope a video's worth 1,000 words. So I wanted to give you an example of a quick build project that was actually constructed in the city of El Monte a couple of years ago. They had a geometrically difficult intersection similar to ours, with a five-legged intersection, if you will, non-standard, with at awkward angles. They similarly implemented a traffic circle. They constructed it. Ultimately, when they engaged the community did not like it. It created additional driver confusion. So ultimately, they backed away from it. But as you can see on that picture to the right, some of the improvements that were done, the striping, the accessibility improvements, and the curb ramps, those are all welcome addition to that intersection, and it's actually functioning better today than it did originally. Not to focus too much on El Monte, because what worked for that, what did not work for that city may not necessarily be for us. But it's just to give you an example that if our community flat out just does not like it and we get bad impact, we can easily go back. We could re-energize the signal, and some of those improvements would, obviously the striping and the accessibility improvements would be here to stay. So this is talks about the timeline of a quick build project. Ideally, once the council approves it, we would formally accept the grants from SCAG. We would discuss the memorandum of understanding with them, implement a design. They would actually contract the designer with engineering support on the actual design. And then we would go out, once the design is completed, we would bid it out, advertise, get a contractor on board, and then we would study it. The initial timeline could be as short as 6 months, as high as 3 years. We're anticipating at least 12 to 18 months to be able to study the proposed improvements. So this is the process when it comes to the grant. The project has already been selected. We're gonna receive approximately $503,700 to be able to implement this. The next step is to draw up a memorandum of understanding with SCAG. We anticipate that process to be about 6 months. And then once we have that MOU drafted, we'll bring that to the city council approval to hopefully go to the next steps. Last but not least, I just wanted to bring the recommendation that we are proposing, that is to approve the notice of exemption and to authorize a resolution of the city declaring our intent to accept this grant and to find the project categorically exempt from CEQA and authorize our city manager to execute all necessary documents to accept the award. That concludes my presentation. Mr. Metzler and I are happy to answer any questions that the council may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council adopt Resolution 25-023 of the City of Victorville declaring intent to accept a SCAG competitive grant award for the La Paz Seneca Road Traffic Circle Quick Build Project, finding the project exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents to accept award and approve the notice of exemption and authorize staff to file the notice with the Office of Planning and Research and the county clerk.
Thank you. At this time, we'll do technical questions from council members. Councilmember Irving?
Oh, I don't have any questions, but this is very impressive. Thank you.
Councilmember Godin?
I do. Mr. Bonilla, you said that the evaluation timeframe would be a minimum of 6 months. However, you felt like it was going to take more than a year.
The grant says anywhere between 6 months to 3 years. And so as part of that MOU process, we would determine what that evaluation period. Right now, we're thinking it's going to be somewhere between 12 to 18 months. But again, until we figure out that process and go through it, right now, that's just an estimate.
So the minimum amount of time for it to be there and functioning would be 6 months.
Correct. To meet the grant requirements, yes.
Okay. So if the residents are not in favor of it, how are we going to go about obtaining that kind of information?
So we will engage with our PIO to engage our community, get community feedback. We'll probably do that at the very early stages to let them know of what's existing, what we see, what we are proposing. And ultimately, once we have that engagement, once we know who our stakeholders are, we can keep them involved and appraised as we move forward with the project. I mean, the great thing about the Quick Build project is that if it doesn't work out for us, it's Control Z. We can go back and restripe it. We can turn the signal back on, and it's as if nothing ever happened. So that gives us the flexibility to be able to go back and basically put the signal back in operation.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So the concept of the quick build is to get something up and test it. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
fair? Okay. So with this grant, if we come to the place where we go through all of this and it just doesn't work for our city in terms of improving safety, et cetera, community feedback, we're not in any danger from SCAG trying to claw back anything or any issue with that, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then the question I have about the actual construction, I guess is what you might say, is we would do all the restriping and then what is in the center? It look like, what is that?
The center lane would probably be like rubber curbs that we would just mount on the asphalt so that it basically delineates and shows the new traffic flow, the new traffic pattern, if you will.
And it would be, I mean, it would be significant enough that people aren't going to just drive over it.
Correct. But it's not going to be a physical curb that would be entrenched into the asphalt. That would be the more permanent solution if in fact if this is a successful project and the community accepts it.
Thank you. And then in terms of roundabouts, this would be a fairly small one? I mean, I've seen some huge ones like in Orange County and they're unsettling to a lot of people who've never done a roundabout. It's kind of scary. And this would be very new to our community. I think we had one a long, long time ago, but currently this would be our only one, right?
That is correct. I believe there was one just north of us here with Civic before it was extended to the north. Yes, it would be a substantial difference from the existing pattern, right? Because right now you have a signalized intersection. But I think once you engage the community and you let them know about the potential, safety enhancements, it really just depends on the ultimate results of how it works out. I mean, we can implement a really good plan, but if the community doesn't accept it, if the community doesn't buy into it, then we can pretty much, hit the reset button and go back to what it is already.
And we would be very proactive in terms of messaging. I would assume that this is coming, this is the high points, these are our hopes, etc.
That would be the intent, which is why I suggested we let our PIO lead those discussions. Obviously, engineering would be involved and to explain the technical aspects of it and the timing and whatnot. But it probably behooves us to have Sue Jones in charge of that operation.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Metzger. Thank you, Mr. Bonilla.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, if I might, and I'd just like to point one thing out. I think there's not only tremendous value in considering this as a pilot for this particular location, but certainly the feedback that we get as to the community's acceptance of this location will actually be valuable for us as we contemplate further improvements in Old Town, because the Old Town specific plan also contemplates at the intersection of Forest and 7th Street. And so a lot of the experience, a lot of the feedback that we get on this particular intersection will certainly help us, help guide us when it comes to Old Town.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm a big proponent of roundabouts. Gigantic one in Lake Havasu that performs great, and people are pulling boats and stuff. I think this intersection is perfect. Whether the community, I'm one of the kind of guys who would say, well, I don't care if we want to do it and think it's safer, then, you know, you always get people complain they have to turn or whatever. Have we done a traffic study in there as far as the volume of cars that pass through?
No, we haven't done a traffic study specific for this improvement yet. We did analyze the traffic volumes and the existing right-of-way, and we're confident that we can construct it within the existing right-of-way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have submitted for this grant, because if we had to acquire right-of-way, then we're talking a significantly lengthy project, and it's at that point, it's no longer a quick build.
And I think I know the answer to this one, right? This is not a truck route at all.
No, it is not, but one of the things that we'll be reviewing, whether it's single or double lane, is to ensure that our emergency vehicles, our fire department has some, pretty big apparatuses to make sure that they can safely get in and maneuver those turning movements. So that's probably going to be the biggest point of discussion when it comes to reviewing the design.
And $503,000 temp. Do we get to put any money we don't use of that $500,000 towards the permanency, for lack of a better word, if we go that way, or do we have to return the funds, or what?
No, so ultimately, if it's successful, then this just makes us that much more competitive for future grant opportunities. Ultimately, any unused funds that are not used for the project would not be reimbursed by SCAG, if you will. So it's only the amount that we spent on design and construction. And hopefully, what is a successful project? We would like to see this constructed and not tear it back up. But if that's what we need to do, then so be it.
Is there a chance with the design, when the design comes back, is it feasible that some curb and gutter would have to be relocated, or nothing major, but
it's possible. Senior engineer Harry Mayo and myself, we were looking at that intersection right now. We're identifying some accessibility improvements. I believe there's a total of 7 curb ramps that are existing there that are not ADA compliant. So anytime you do any type of improvements to the intersection, we would have to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So those improvements would be here and be here to stay. So it's very well possible that additional curbs may need to get relocated. Obviously, we're going to do our best to minimize that, to again, make it a quick build.
Okay. And then my next question, the city manager, I was going to say this should give us some insight to put a nice one in Old Town, but okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Metzger, I do have a couple of questions. Mr. Bonilla mentioned at least 2 or 3 times that they're going to turn off the signal. I understand we're not taking it down, but we're going to turn it off. Are we leaving the cameras at least running? Because this is going to be good to view.
The existing cameras are detection only, so they don't necessarily record, if you will. But that's certainly a great idea that we can take a look into. See,
Well, we're going to need it. Yeah. It's the people in this desert have problems parallel parking. it's going to be interesting how they do a roundabout. Real interesting. I'd hate to be the officer there having to take the report. Also in looking at the diagram, the handicap ramps are going to be set for the roundabout. So the roundabout gets taken out, then we have to put the handicaps back for the signalized intersections, correct?
Correct, but if you looked at that diagram, the ramps are pretty much staying right where they're at, so the existing crosswalks would stay, so
So we're
any,
just upgrading them
correct.
to the zero, okay. All right. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. At this time, I'll invite a motion for this item.
I move to adopt staff recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
First by Mayor Pro Tem Harriman, second by Councilwoman Jones. Mayor Pro Tem Harriman, comments on the pending motion?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Councilwoman Jones?
I have none. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Godin?
I have done, thank you.
Councilwoman Irving?
Yes, I too think this is a great idea. And what I like most about it is the civic engagement. I think that's pretty cool. Thank you.
Good idea, well thought out, but oh, is it going to be interesting? Madam Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godin,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We've now taken action to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda. Item 14, acceptance of roadway and access maintenance easement deeds for the Bear Valley Road Bridge over the Mojave River Rehabilitation Widening Project. Mr. Metzler, would you kindly introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. The town of Apple Valley is lead agency on a project largely within their jurisdiction. Where similar to the work that we had recently completed at the Bear Valley Bridge over the railroad between Industrial and Ridgecrest, where the scope of that work was effectively to standardize lane widths and make some improvements to add bike lane, sidewalk. Very similarly, the town of Apple Valley has taken on a project for their bridge that traverses over the Mojave River, effectively connecting Apple Valley to Victorville. And on that bridge itself, the town is taking on the role of similarly making improvements to that bridge, not adding capacity, but certainly standardizing their lane widths, putting in a bike path and making improvements to the curb gutter and sidewalk. And so with that, we've been working cooperatively with them. And this particular item is speaking specifically to the need for the perfection of right-of-way at the very northeast project limit, which is actually within the city's jurisdiction, City of Victorville's jurisdiction. And so this item is effectively accepting roadway and access and maintenance easement deeds where it involves property currently owned by the Victor Valley College, where the easements are being granted to effectively allow for these roadway improvements to be undertaken. So with that, the author on the item is your city engineer, once again, Mr. Freddie Bonilla, and he's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council accept a roadway easement deed from Victor Valley Community College District for the Bear Valley Road Bridge over Mojave River Rehabilitation and Widening Project. Accept an access and maintenance easement deed from Victor Valley Community College District for the Bear Valley Road Bridge over Mojave River Rehabilitation and Widening Project, and authorize the city manager to execute the easement deeds on the city's behalf.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we'll do technical questions from Councilmember Irving.
I don't have any.
Councilmember Godin.
I have none, thank you.
Councilmember Jones.
And thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman.
Yeah, I have a dumb one. I would have thought that was, the college has a deed on at the bridge. I figured the river, everything in the river was county.
Everything in right as you get to the northwest project limit, the underlying property owner is the Victor Valley College in this particular case. Yeah, as far as the river, like, I'm not even actually sure who the underlying owner of the river would be. I'd have to look, but at least in this area where it's at the very northwest corner, it's Victor Valley College.
Okay, thanks.
I have none. I'll invite a motion for this item. Motion to adopt staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda.
Second.
First by Mayor Becerra, second by Mayor Pro Tem Harriman. I have no comments on the pending motion. Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
I have none.
Councilwoman Jones,
I have none, thank you.
Councilman Godin,
I have none, thank you.
Councilmember Irving.
No.
Madam Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godin,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We've now taken action to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda. Item 15, standard sublease agreement for building 682C by and between the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority and Andro Industry, Inc. Mr. Metzler, will you kindly introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This item involves one of our standard sublease agreements with a company called Androl. Androl is a company that you've come to know over recent meetings as they've been taking on a footprint in this. And with this lease, it allows them to expand their footprint within the fence at SCLA so that they can advance their flight test operations for remote piloted aircraft. And so with that, this item does provide revenue to the airport with a term for the actual lease agreement. And so with that, the author on this item is your airport director, Mr. James Murowski. I was going to say Mr. Eric Ray, so used to that, sorry. And certainly James is available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors approve entering into a standard sublease agreement for Building 682C by and between the SCLAA and Androl Industries, Inc., and authorize the Executive Director to execute said agreement.
Thank you. At this time, we'll do technical questions from council members. Councilmember Jones,
None, thank you.
Councilmember Godin,
I have none.
Councilmember Irving,
No questions, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman.
I have none.
Mr. Borowski, thank you very much for the report. See? Very. I'll invite a motion for this item.
I move to adopt staff's recommendations as presented before us.
I'll second. Comments on the pending motion, Councilmember Irving?
No comments.
And I have none. Councilmember Jones,
None, thank you.
Councilmember Godin,
None.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman.
I have none.
Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Godin,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 16. Oh, I'm sorry. We've now taken action to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda. Item 16, substandard lease agreement for buildings 717B, 671, 675, and Lot 20 by and between the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority and the Boeing Company. Mr. Metzler, would you kindly introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This item similarly is one of our standard sublease agreements involving, in this case, Boeing, where they've occupied some of this office space, including ramp, dating back to as far back as I can remember, which was about 1998, when it was serving as Boeing Capital, the leasing arm for the aircraft manufacturer. And so with that, they continue to operate at the airport, where in this particular case, they're occupying office space, and then they're also occupying ramp space for the parking of aircraft. And so this lease is effectively extending the term of their relationship with us for an additional 2 months and 8 years, with an option to extend for another 3 years. And so with that, it does generate revenue for the airport operations. The airport director, Mr. James Murowski, is available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors Approve entering into a standard sublease agreement for Building 717B, 671, 675, and Lot 20 by and between the SCLAA and the Boeing Company, and authorize the Executive Director to execute said agreement, and adopt Resolution Number SCLAA 25-008, amending the 2024-2025 budget, increasing revenue in account 4500125 44605 by $179,514.12.
Thank you, ma'am. This time we'll do technical questions from council member. Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
I have none.
Councilwoman Irving,
No questions, thank you.
Councilwoman Godin,
None, thank you.
Councilwoman Jones,
And thank you.
and I have none. I'll invite a motion for this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the SCLAA Board of Directors takes action pursuant to the recommendations set forth on.
Second.
I have a first by Councilmember Jones, a second by Councilwoman Godin. Councilwoman Jones, comments on the pending motion?
I don't have any. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Godin,
None, thank you.
Councilwoman Irving,
No comments, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
I have none.
and I have none. Madam Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godin,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
we've now taken action to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda. Item 17, discussion and possible action to place a memorial sign at the intersection of Elevado Road and Seneca Road in honor of Deputy Hector Cuevas. Being that I brought this item in memory of Deputy Hector Cuevas, who tragically lost his life in the line of duty on March 17, 2025 at the intersection of Elevado and Seneca Road. Would like to honor his memory and the 6 years that he dedicated service, 3 of those years being in our community. Place a memorial sign at this location at the, wherever traffic feels that it's safe to put up. Mr. Metzler, do you have anything else you want to add?
I think the only thing that I will add is that if the council approves this item, we'll actually work, we'll reach back out to the family. We'll actually attempt to coordinate the effort with them, but we'll also do some community outreach as well. We'll do some community engagement. I know there's a lot of memorial stuff still there on the sidewalk, and so one of the things that we do want to do is have some outreach to the community, letting them know that we will, in fact, be having to clean up the intersection. But as a part of the effort, we'll be in perpetuity having that, recognizing that intersection as a memorial for Deputy Cuevas.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
Any action is at the discretion of your honorable city council.
Thank you. At this time, we'll do technical questions from council member. Councilmember Godin,
I have none, thank you.
Councilmember Jones,
None.
Councilwoman Irving,
No questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
I have none.
and I have done. Motion to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda.
Madam Mayor, there is, it's any action at the discretion, so you'll need to state what your motion is.
Thank you. Motion to install 4 signs at the direction of Mr. Metzler of the location. Is that good enough?
That should work.
Okay.
Second. Oh. Start.
Who are you recognizing as your second?
Tim Harriman. I have no comments. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
I have none.
Councilwoman Irving,
No comments.
Councilwoman Godin,
None.
Councilwoman Jones.
I do. First and foremost, thank you, Madam Mayor, for bringing this to the fore. I think it's important. I think doing this will be a symbol for decades upon decades about how we care about our community and how we especially care for those who risk their lives every day to love and care and protect the members of our community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Godam.
Yes.
Councilmember Irving.
Yes.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman.
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We've now taken action to approve staff's recommendation as presented on the agenda. Item 18, discussion and possible action to determine whether members of the city council, member of the city's commissions, committees, and boards should adhere to the same standards as the city council, specifically including but not limited to administrative procedures, communication, conduct, and conflict of interest provisions as outlined in the city council policy and procedure manual. Member Jones, since this is your requested item, would you like to provide an introduction?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first of all, colleagues, thank you very much for allowing this item to be placed on tonight's agenda. As we know, council-appointed bodies like the Planning Commission, the Community Services Advisory Committee, and others play a vital role in shaping policy, providing guidance, and supporting the work of this council. Their service is deeply valued, and their work reflects directly on the city. At present, only the Planning Commission has a clearly defined set of rules that was last adopted in January 2022. Other committees and advisory bodies do not operate under similarly articulated standards. So my proposal here tonight would seek to bring greater consistency to how these bodies carry out their role and responsibilities, specifically in areas such as administrative procedures, communication, conduct, and conflict of interest, by applying the same expectations currently followed by the council. In the case of the Planning Commission, any such action would respect its existing rules and practices. Should the council choose to move forward with this effort, I would recommend that the relevant standards be reflected in the next scheduled revision of the City Council Policy and Procedures Manual. That would be in August of 2026. So by establishing shared expectations across all council-appointed bodies, we can reduce confusion, encourage accountability, and promote a more cohesive approach to public service. It also reinforces public trust by ensuring that everyone representing the city is operating from a common understanding of their role and responsibility. So this, in the end, is all about providing a clear roadmap to service. Most individuals who step up, I would venture to say all, who step up to serve want to do a good job, and well-defined expectations help make that possible. For new appointees in particular, having this kind of structure makes the onboarding process smoother, more efficient, and ultimately more empowering. So, Madam Mayor, I am prepared to offer a motion and participate in discussion on this item when so invited. Thank you.
Mr. Batchel, would you like to further introduce this item?
I have nothing further to add.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
Any action is at the discretion of your honorable city council.
We'll do technical questions from Councilmember Godin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do. So I would like to get some clarifications regarding this item. The language used here is potentially very broad, and to require boards, commissions, and committees to abide by the entire policy and procedure manual seems a bit excessive. The language currently reads in this item, boards, committees, and commissions should adhere to the same standards as the city council, specifically including, but not limited to, administrative procedures, communication, conduct, and conflict of interest provisions as outlined by the city council policy and procedures manual. I did review that, and I noted several of these topics are already addressed in the existing policy and procedures manual. For example, Chapter 6 covers social media use, Chapter 9 outlines roles, training, and conflict of interest guidelines. Additionally, the Planning Commission has its own established administrative rules, as Councilmember Jones stated. But I'm wondering if you can, Councilmember Jones, please clarify what additional standards or actions you're proposing for the commissions, boards, and committees beyond what is already in place. Are you suggesting an expansion of the provisions or a reaffirmation of adherence to existing policy?
I'm happy to, Madam Mayor. May I respond? Sure. So the point is there are no existing policies for these council-appointed bodies. There's nothing explicit. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we all have a shared understanding in what we are to do. So for example, social media, CSAC doesn't have a policy. They have no policies at all. So this is just really bringing us all under the same umbrella, that we're all operating under good business practice, professional standards, For example, one thing that could come up is if someone makes a report to us about something, we know how to deal with that. But a CSAC member might get a report from a community member and not know what the proper way is to respond to that or who to report it to, what the chain of command is. So this really brings into one umbrella all of not only the council, but all of our council appointed bodies. So it's meant to really, it's not expanding anything, it's just bringing us all under the same umbrella.
So my concern would be that by holding them accountable to the entire policy and procedures manual, that there are going to be a lot of items in there that are not going to necessarily fall to these boards and commissions, items that we're going to have to either then take out and rewrite our policy manual or specifically go in and word it to where these items do apply to the committees, commissions, and boards and others don't.
Well, I think, well, I mean, if you reading the policy manual, it would be, and perhaps Mr. DeBortnowski, you can help a bit with this. When you read the policy manual, a lot of it has to do with that we represent the community, that we conduct ourselves with one another, with our colleagues in a certain way. We respect our community in a certain way. So these are just those kinds of explicit standards. It's not meant to say that council appointed bodies behave like the council and everything because they don't have the authority to, but to the extent that something applies to them, it simply would do that. It would apply to them. And Mr. DeBortnowski, could you add anything to that?
I think if you look at the policy manual, I mean, for example, the Planning Commission does have its own policy that deals primarily with how to conduct Brown Act meetings. There are some places throughout the policy manual that do reference applicability to some of the commissions and committees, but there are other places where they don't. So I think what it would take is an effort to go through and maybe look at those areas where certain provisions could be applicable to those committees and commissions that aren't addressed. Some of the provisions in the policy manual just deal with the city council. Some of them deal with the city council and committees and commissions. So it'd take a little bit of effort to go through it, but to tighten it up.
But the point being is that this just becomes something for those committees and commissions to latch onto, that gosh, when we're appointed to this, we have something to hang on. We know what is expected of us, that this is a serious position before the council.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to offer a substitute motion.
I haven't made a motion yet.
I'll get a chance to answer questions and then we'll ask.
Then I'm good. Thank you.
Councilmember Irving?
Well, I think Member Jones explained, I think she explained what or where she's going with this. I understand, I could understand uniformity in the way we conduct, or all of these committees, including the council, we conduct business, how a meeting should go. But I think they're, based on what I read, and it sounds like you read the same thing I did, I think it's sufficient. I don't think we should hold committees to the same standards that we hold council members, because we're an elected body. We're responsible for creating policy. They are not, and we have general oversight. I think what we have before us is sufficient, and I wouldn't think we want to be redundant. And aside from that, since I've been sitting here on the council, sometimes the manual is a bit restrictive, or it's excessive. It's too much. I think a policy manual is supposed to give us guidance and guidelines. In some instances, it's so explicit and so it's so specific that it becomes cumbersome. And most of the committees that you're referring to, and outside of the Planning Commission, they like the Measure P Oversight Committee. They're volunteers. They're just serving the community. And if at any time things aren't going the way we think they should, we have the authority without cause to remove someone. So.
But this isn't about removing anyone.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in general, I don't think we should hold, I guess I liken it to being a teacher. I don't think we should hold paraeducators to the same standards we hold teachers, because they're held to a different standard. And so that's where I'm going with it. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
I have nothing.
mine are questions and comments too. I have the same concern as Councilmember Irving and Councilman Godan. We elected to be here. They didn't. All the boards that we're discussing, we as a council place people on there. If as a council, we can show that one or two is not following, as a council in a body of 5, 3 of us can vote that person off. So I think it's more so, as Councilwoman Irving said, it's going after somebody. I mean, our own rules, we can't even sneeze without asking somebody permission and making sure we can bring it at the next agenda. So I'd have the same concerns as Councilmember Irving. What's everybody? At this time, I'll invite a motion for this item.
So, Madam Mayor, given the comments here and I think that this was taken away in a way that I didn't expect. So at this point, I think I hear a consensus, so I'm not prepared to make a motion at this time.
Okay. Madam Clerk, not that it dies, or this motion just goes, we're done with this item?
Yeah, there's no motion for the item.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 19, City Manager reports, Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the council do have a few items for you. On the animal services side of the house, the animal services team will have pet available for adoption or foster at the High Desert Farmers Market at VVC next Thursday, April 24th between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. And then Animal Service will be hosting a free first-time licensing and microchipping event on Saturday, April 26th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. That'll be actually at the Animal Care and Adoption Center located on E Street in Old Town. The code compliance side of the house, in a proactive effort to reduce fire hazard, the Code Enforcement Division is continuing to investigate properties that contain dry vegetation throughout the city. 190 cases have been completed this fiscal year alone, yielding approximately 60% compliance from property owners. So fairly pleased with that rate of success. And then on the community services side of the house, city's annual spring festival and egg hunt is this Saturday, April 19th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Hook Park. All are invited to come out and enjoy this free family-friendly event featuring local vendors and activities. Tickets are also available for purchase for the egg hunt. Pre-registration is required for that event, and information's on our website. And then on the engineering side, Genesis Construction will begin work on the pressure zone change on April 21st, where they'll address the low pressure water issues in the area near Balsam and Bear Valley Road. And that's an item that we brought to you and the council approved maybe 2 meetings ago, maybe 3 meetings ago. Anyhow, the construction on that project will be about 4 months worth of work in that area. And beyond that, I do have the projects of interest list that you can peruse at your leisure. I'll be forwarding this update to you via email. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Item 20, discussion and possible action regarding upcoming agenda items. Councilmember Godin.
Yes, I would like to propose we add to the May 20th agenda an item that would require each board, commission, and committee to develop its own code of conduct, which shall include standards related to administrative procedures, communication protocols, and conflict of interest provisions. Once drafted, each body would submit its proposed code of conduct to the City Council for review and formal approval, ensuring alignment with the city's overarching policies and expectations.
Second. Is that for action? Yep. Second.
Okay. First, Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote?
Councilmember Godin?
Yes.
Councilmember Irving?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
Yes.
Mayor Becerra?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Anything else?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Irving?
Yes. Recently I received correspondence from our former CSAC committee member, Mr. Terrence Stone, requesting a letter of reference on his behalf from the city regarding his nomination for an honorary doctorate degree. So as soon as the next regular council meeting, I move that we agendize an item for discussion and possible action to approve a written letter of reference on the city's letterhead for Terrence Stone, as I said before, a former CSAC committee member, in support of his nomination to receive an honorary doctorate degree in humanities from Elbin Solutions College of Ministry Solutions, and that letter be authored by either Mayor Becerra or myself, Councilwoman Leslie Irving, and that it be addressed to Elbin Solutions College of Ministries Solutions Nomination Committee.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Godam,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Councilmember Irving, anything else?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Jones?
I have nothing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
I have nothing.
And myself, I would like to add an item at the next council meeting for discussion and possible action to allow the mayor to attend meetings in Washington DC with the legislature regarding the city's submission of application for members directed discretionary federal funds. Everybody was given an email of everything we have. We have two applications with funding and totaling of $6 million to fund our construction. And then one of them's $1 million gallon tank at SCLA. We would like to meet our lobbyists there in Washington to try to at least get the funding. That's my motion.
Second. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Godam,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman,
Yes.
Mayor Becerra.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. That's all I have. Item 21, reports from council members. Councilmember Irving?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Harriman?
No. No, thank you. I'm good. I'm good.
Councilmember Godin?
I have none.
Councilmember Jones?
I don't have anything to report. Thank you.
Thank you. And neither do I. Thank you very much, everybody. The time is 8:21. This meeting's adjourned.